In this video, I will use the Ethereal Serpent from Dragon Quest Monsters as a Pokémon in Ruby. The Ethereal Serpent, or Sky Dragon as he's called in Japanese, is one of the hardest gate bosses in Terry's Wonderland. He's been made even harder in the 3DS remake, as he can potentially one-shot your entire party with Deep Breath and Inferno on the same turn. Stats-wise, he's pretty average, with Agility being his only outstanding stat, followed loosely by MP, which is basically the dump stat in the original GBC version. His attack has a high growth rate before level 17, which is why I buffed it a little when converting to Pokemon base stats. He will have 90 base HP, 80 attack, 70 defense, 56 special attack, 110 special defense, and 144 speed, for a total of 550. This is highly deceptive because they are horribly distributed for a solo run, with the two most important stats, defense and special attack, being the worst. You only need about 90 speed to outrun every major threat without any EV investment, so those extra 54 points are basically wasted. Since the DQM games use a lookup table for stat growth, higher indices don't necessarily mean better stats. Stats in DQM also grow at variable rates throughout the levels, which is impossible, or at least impractical, to mimic in Pokemon. His level-up moves are based on his breath skill set in the 3DS remake, which contains fire and cold breath-based skills. Some stab moves have been added for flavor, but there just aren't any good dragon or flying moves in this generation. Hurricane and Dragon Ascent don't exist yet, so Sky Attack will have to do, even though it was originally called Godbird, and he's clearly not a bird. I will set up an Ethereal Serpent with perfect IVs and pre-applied EVs. He will have a neutral nature because I could just edit the base stats directly to make adjustments. His typing of Dragon and Flying is a given, and the Limber ability seems fitting due to his appearance. Airlock does nothing 99% of the time, and Multiscale doesn't exist yet. Considering his typing and base stats, the only sensible EV spread is max points in both attacks. I put him in the 1.25 million experience group because, like most dragons, he is slow to level up. Roxanne's gym required some luck to beat at level 15, since I'm fast and weak to Rock Tomb, which the AI will prioritize as a speed debuff when it's slower. Her Geodude missed its Rock Tomb, and while her Nosepass isn't weak to my Powder Snow, it has much lower attack stat. Rock Tomb is just an awful move in Gen 3, with only 50 power and 80% accuracy, so it's not even reliable as a speed debuff. The fighting gym was much easier in comparison. Although Gust only has 35 base power, it is physical in this gen and hence uses the higher of my attacks. Air Cutter is the flying version of Razor Leaf, which hits both opponents with doubled critical rate. I thought Air Slash was added in this gen, but I was wrong, so there are simply no good flying moves in these games besides Aeroblast. Brawly gives the TM for bulk up, but I didn't make it compatible for obvious reasons. The second rival battle also took a bit of luck. His first two Pokemon were nothing, but his Marshtomp knows the move Bide, which returns double the damage the user takes in the next two turns. I could have used Air Cutter to two-shot it, but Air Cutter doesn't have perfect accuracy, so I just played it safe and hit it with the weak Fire Spin instead. Watson was the first major roadblock. My attack stats aren't great, and I only have weak moves, none of which are good against his steel types. Fire Spin only has 15 power, not 35 as I initially thought. I can't be paralyzed due to Limber, but it's not necessarily a good thing, because the AI is aware of it and won't waste a turn using Thunder Wave. This means it will either attack or use Supersonic, which is bad as I don't have access to the Persim Berry yet. The strongest move I could use against him is Dragon Breath, but it couldn't even two-shot the Magnemite despite its terrible special defense, and I got confused in the process. I also missed out on a one-shot against the Voltorb, allowing it to use self-destruct. There's no way I can beat his Magneton on 21 HP, so this is GG. I'll just try again and hope for better luck. There's always the option of selling items from pickup to buy the Flamethrower TM at the casino, apart from grinding to an insane level. I don't have nearly enough money at the moment, so I hope I wouldn't have to resort to that. Well, I got amazing luck this time, burning his potions on the Magnemite and Voltorb, never hitting myself in confusion, and landing both a paralysis and a critical hit on his Magneton. Watson gives the TM for Shockwave, which sounds like a ground-type move, but it's not. Either way, it makes no sense on a flying dragon. The first Maxi battle is never any challenge, because you'll naturally be overleveled for his team in a solo run. I also learned the secret power TM for some neutral damage that uses my physical attack, and the 30% chance of terrain-based effects is a bonus. His Mightyena has Intimidate to punish physical attackers, and probably Sand Attack as well to mess up your accuracy, but its level is just too low for this stage of the game to pose a real threat. I was surprised my Icy Wind wasn't even close to one-shotting his Golbat. It just shows how bad my special attack is, unless it somehow has special defense EV, which I highly doubt. Camerupt is probably his worst Pokemon. It's very slow, and for some reason, it still knows Tackle and Ember. Surely they could have given it Flamethrower and Body Slam as a boss, just so it could actually do something. Flannery's gym is usually a piece of cake for anything that isn't weak to fire. Slugma is one of the worst Pokemon ever made in the entire history of the series, and she has two of them, without even the Flame Body ability that could have given them the slightest utility. Her Torkoal is highly defensive, with okay attack stats, and it could be annoying with Body Slam and Attract. But I'm using a female monster, and Limber prevents paralysis, so I don't have to worry about those. I made Overheat compatible, but I don't get Stab on it, and it's just a terrible move for a solo run. Fire Blast is only slightly weaker, but without the harsh special attack penalty. Norman was already the second roadblock in this run. I just don't have good enough attack stats to two-shot his Slackings, nor do I have enough HP or defense to take hits from them. Again, the strongest move I have is Dragon Breath, which hits their much lower special defense, but it can paralyze and double the power of Facade. I also forgot that his first Slacking had Yawn, and that certainly didn't help me win. I could try again equipping the Chesto Berry and hope for better luck, but I just don't think I could win at my current level, simply because I wasn't doing enough damage. And just like last time, I was able to get to his second Slacking, but I had no way to one-shot it even with a critical, and I didn't have enough HP left to take any hits from it. I didn't feel like grinding since the EXP yield in these games is so low, and I need to save my rare candies for the Pokemon League, so I decided to take the pay-to-win route. Here I must make a complaint about the interface. Did they just expect players to know what those TMs contain? Flamethrower is only 5 points stronger than Stab Dragon Breath, but it only has a 10% chance to burn, which is good in this case. Also, I think the attack having effect of burn is still applied to Facade in this gen, basically giving it normal power instead of double. I again forgot to equip a Chesto Berry for this fight, but it didn't end up mattering. I got a burn from the first Flamethrower, and then woke up immediately to land a critical Air Cutter. His Vigoroth was an easy 2-shot with Flamethrower, and his second Slacking tried to stall me out with Slack Off, forgetting the fact that it would lose every other turn to Truant. Sarcasm aside, this was pay to win at its finest, I suppose. Norman gives the TM for Facade, which could be a situational comeback move in PvP, but it's useless in a solo run without RNG manipulation, as you normally don't want to keep an ailment. The rival fights are just a joke at this point. He's no stronger than those random trainers in the area, and he doesn't even have a single fully evolved Pokémon. In fact, you can find wild Pokémon here that are at higher levels than his team. Heatwave is an AoE fire move that only a few Pokémon can learn in this gen, and it's not a clone of Blizzard as I first assumed. It only has 100 power, not 120, and it doesn't have perfect accuracy, so it's kind of pointless in-game where most battles are one-on-one. I think the fire-type Blizzard is called Magma Storm or something, and it might not even be an exact clone. The rival gives the HM for Fly, which only does 70 in 2 turns, at 95% accuracy, and that's worse than Gust. But it's literally the strongest stab move I have before Sky Attack, which is also a 2-turn move with imperfect accuracy. Yeah, the flying type was just dreadful before moves like Brave Bird and Acrobatics were introduced. Anyway, Winona's gym was no threat, since her team was so underleveled, and I have Flamethrower for her Skarmory. Aerial Ace isn't a good move either, but at least it ignores accuracy and evasion, so I don't have to worry about things like Sand Attack and Double Team. These Swift clones should go through Protect as well, but I'm clearly asking too much. Here's the final rival fight in these games, and he still doesn't even have a fully evolved starter. I know they intended for Wally to be your real rival, but still, this is kind of insulting to both the character and the player. Funnily, they seem to have given his Shroomish HP or special defense EVs just to be annoying, or maybe my special attack is just that bad. Who knows? I need a second Pokémon to fight the Psychic Gym, so I included my HM Mule. Fortunately, neither their Solrock nor Lunatone knows any rock moves, and the latter doesn't have Ice Beam. But unfortunately, I have nothing good against them. Dragon Breath will do nothing once Calm Mind is set up, and I have no wings to use Steel Wing. TMs for Iron Tail and Dragon Claw aren't accessible until I beat the last gym. I guess I really lucked out in this fight, since that critical hit on the Solrock absolutely mattered. The Lunatone also decided to spam Calm Mind and Hypnosis, instead of using Psychic twice to take me out, when the best I could do was use Dragon Dance and Fly. All of its Hypnosis attempts missed as well, but I had a Chesto Berry anyway. I made Calm Mind compatible, and it's probably going to be my only chance at beating the league before level 90. Speaking of the league, it's going to be a pain either way, since I'm doubly weak to ice. This is going to be a very long video, so I'll keep the commentary to a minimum from now on. Persim Berry is mandatory for the second Maxi battle, because both his Mightyena and Crobat can confuse you. And as expected, his Mightyena opened with swagger. Camerupt is just a badly designed Pokémon. Like Magcargo, it's too slow, with too many weaknesses, and it doesn't even have Magcargo's defense. I'm obviously faster than his Crobat, but Stab Fly at +1 attack couldn't even one-shot it. Fly only has 70 power in this gen, but even with 90 power, it's not a good move. I fought all the trainers in Wallace's gym for the experience, which I need all that I can get, due to my mediocre attack stats and slow level up rate. Fortunately, Wallace is basically a free win, since he opens with a useless love disc that's just a setup fodder. I can just use Dragon Dance until I get confused, and then sweep his team. They should have given him something like a Gyarados with Dragon Dance to lead with, as this is the last gym after all. It could at least make setups difficult. His Milotic has Ice Beam, but it doesn't get Stab and won't be enough to one-shot me. Fly should just one-shot it at this level. The rest of his team couldn't do anything, even though Fly missed against his Whiscash. I can't learn Water Pulse, so the TM is useless to me. I went to the move deleter and replaced Fly with Aerial Ace, for the extra PP and perfect accuracy. The Wally battle at the end of Victory Road can be very luck-based, as everything on his team can inflict some form of status ailment. But since I'm faster, the AI will prioritize using Dragon Dance with his lead Altaria, which just lets me set up for free. I also don't have to worry about paralysis due to my ability. Before challenging the league, there are some preparations I had to make. First of all, I need to relearn Taunt for Phoebe's Dusclops, which knows Curse, an instant GG move in a solo run. Then, I need to grab the TM for Dragon Claw at the Meteor Falls. Despite its name, it's a special move in this gen, which makes no sense. Here are my stats and moves for the league. I have great speed and good special defense even without EVs, but everything else is average to bad. Sydney shouldn't pose any problem, since I have a Persim Berry for swagger, and I don't have to worry about Sand Attack thanks to Aerial Ace. I can just set up Dragon Dance on his Mightyena and sweep his team. Phoebe is where things can get dicey, because her first Dusclops is not guaranteed to use Curse when it can do decent damage with Shadow Punch or Future Sight. I still had to use Taunt just in case, but it decided to spam Shadow Punch all the way this time. It got a critical hit, so I had to attack at only +2, which wasn't enough to one-shot it. Sydney was still a free win, and I probably only need to avoid a crit to beat Phoebe, since +3 should be enough. Unfortunately, I misclicked and used Dragon Dance twice in a row, and her Dusclops just happened to have picked Curse on the turn I didn't taunt, so this is another loss. I equipped a citrus berry so I can take one more shadow punch. It did allow me to set up Dragon Dance 3 times and one-shot her first Dusclops, but her second one is 3 levels higher and probably has HP or defense EVs. +3 isn't enough, and I won't have the chance to get to +4, so I'll just have to use rare candies to gain some more levels. I'm not going to bother with Sky Attack because it's a 2-turn move, and I can still be hit on the first turn. I was taking less damage from Shadow Punch at a higher level, and I successfully blocked a curse, which allowed me to set up enough Dragon Dances to one-shot her second Dusclops. Her other Pokémon don't have nearly as much defense. Glacia is usually the easiest and worst member of the league, but I'm doubly weak to Ice this time, and her lead Glalie knows Ice Beam. I'll have to learn Calm Mind to boost my special defense, and hope that her Glalie uses Hail on the first turn instead of attacking. Dragon Claw is special in Gen 3, as stupid as it might sound, but it takes advantage of Calm Mind, so I'll learn that too. Her Celio and Walrein have the thick fat ability that halves fire and ice damage. Her Glalie opened with Light Screen, which certainly wasn't ideal, but it could be worse. 2 Calm Minds were enough to reduce Ice Beam damage to about a third, so I could safely use it again and stall out the Light Screen. Flamethrower was a one-shot, and Dragon Claw was also enough to one-shot her Walrein. This fight might have seemed easy enough, but in reality, I just got incredibly lucky on her first Glalie, as you'll see later. Drake should be simple, since I'm faster than his entire team, and Dragon is super effective against itself. I didn't want to deal with Rock Tomb, so I just took out his Shelgon straight away with Dragon Claw. His Altaria is perfectly safe to set up on, as I can't be paralyzed by its Dragon Breath. The rest of his team was of course easy one-shots with Dragon Claw. Learning Blizzard here was probably a huge mistake in hindsight, even though I had nothing else to deal with Steven's Claydol and Cradily. Its 70% accuracy turned out to be too unreliable. His lead Skarmory opened with spikes, as the AI isn't aware of your party size. This gave me an extra turn to set up, until it landed a Toxic which would be cured by my Pecha Berry. And this is where Blizzard's terrible accuracy reared its ugly head. It missed not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times in a row, which had the odds of 81 out of 10,000, or under 1%. This allowed his Claydol to set up Light Screen again before it finally hit. I couldn't one-shot his Armaldo through Light Screen, and it has Stab Ancient Power, which is still physical in this gen, so this is just GG. Like I said, I was incredibly lucky in that run to have gotten to Steven, and now I can't even get to him. Here's an Ice Beam crit, followed by a freeze. Now I get hit by a crit shadow punch from Dusclops. And another ice beam crit. Those were just some of my failed runs, and it seemed that the amount of luck required to even get past Glacia was insane. I was already tired, and I felt like trying any more was simply a waste of time, so I gave up and boosted myself by another 10 levels to see how it goes. If it still won't allow me to win with some consistency, then I'll just end this run and call it a failure. The first two fights were pretty much the same, and I just need to not misclick against Phoebe's first Dusclops or get crit too many times. I'm now only taking less than a third from Ice Beam after a Calm Mind, and I decided to play it safe and take out the Glalie before it could set up Light Screen or crit me. The rest of Glacia's team was no threat, as long as I could one-shot her Wall Rain. Drake was a free win, so there's nothing to say about this fight. Now, for Steven, I decided to keep Taunt for his Skarmory, so I can guarantee myself 2 turns to set up. Pecha Berry only works once, and it might use Toxic on the first turn. This should be an easy win now. Even a critical Steel Wing didn't do a lot, and I can also taunt his Claydol to prevent Light Screen. It only has non-stab Ancient Power that can hit me. +3 was enough to one-shot the Claydol, which means the rest of the battle was just formalities at this point. So, in conclusion, the Ethereal Serpent was terrible as a Pokémon, probably the worst yet. Tough typing aside, his stats are in the wrong places, and he's a typical victim of the lack of physical and special split in this generation. If only Dragon Claw was physical, or the flying type had better moves, he would have had a much easier time. This has been a long video, but thanks for watching.